It's something you may have known all along. Simple, yes, but its power? Truly remarkable. 7 unexpected signs of brain resilience most doctors overlook. You might already have them. There's a quiet power living inside your brain, a kind of strength that doesn't shout but endures. And most people, even doctors, don't see it. They're trained to look for decline, not for resilience. But what if I told you that your brain might already be showing powerful signs of longevity? That deep inside your everyday life, you might be holding on to strengths most medical charts miss. In this video, we're going to reveal 7 unexpected signs of brain resilience, subtle, often overlooked indicators that your brain is adapting, growing, and holding strong even as you age. And here's the surprising truth. You might already know these signs. You might even brush them off as ordinary. But the research? It's anything but ordinary. The results are out of this world. So if you've ever worried about memory slips, if you've wondered whether your sharpness is fading, or if you've questioned whether it's all downhill after 70, please give this your time. By the end of this video, you'll not only know what to look for, you'll learn one powerful method between segment 17 and 18 that could dramatically boost your mental strength starting today. So stay close. Your brain is wiser than you think, and this journey might prove just how strong you already are. Sign 1. You still feel curious. Let's start with the sign most people underestimate: curiosity. If you still find yourself asking questions, wondering how something works, or wanting to learn just a little more about a topic, your brain is more resilient than you think. You see, curiosity isn't just about learning, it's about neural flexibility. The moment you ask, "Why is that?" or "I've never heard of that before," you activate circuits in your brain that promote growth, adaptability, and plasticity. These are the very things that keep brains young. Doctors often focus on memory tests, but they don't always ask, is this person still interested in life? That's a huge oversight. Curiosity, especially in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, is a protective factor. It's like mental exercise without the treadmill. So if you caught yourself reading an article that had nothing to do with your day, or if you just started learning a new hobby because it sounded fun, that's brain strength. You're not just surviving, you're engaging. And that is resilience. Quiet, steady, powerful. Let's move to the second sign. It's one that shows up not in what you do, but in what you feel when you face challenges. Sign 2. You bounce back emotionally. Emotional recovery is a hidden superpower. If you've gone through something difficult, maybe grief, loss, or a major change, and found yourself able to feel joy again, even just a little, your brain is showing deep resilience. Most people think brain strength means memory, logic, or reaction time. But there's another kind of strength that doctors rarely test: emotional rebound. When something hard happens and you say, "This hurts, but I'll get through it," you're not just speaking hope, you're signaling to your brain, adapt, grow, heal. And when your brain hears that, it starts releasing the kinds of chemicals that support recovery, not decline. This doesn't mean you never cry. It doesn't mean you're always positive. It means you don't stay stuck forever. It means there's still a spark inside you that says, tomorrow might feel different. So if you ever notice that after a bad week, you cleaned your home, went for a walk, or called a friend just to chat, that was brain resilience in action. Quiet, but life-changing. Next, let's talk about one of the most unexpected signs, and it has nothing to do with intelligence. It's about something many people over 70 do without realizing how powerful it is. Sign 3. You tell stories from the past. Have you ever told a story from your childhood or described a moment from 40, even 60 years ago with vivid detail? If so, you're not just reminiscing, you're strengthening your brain. Many doctors think that recalling the past means you're stuck in it, but that's an outdated belief. New research shows that storytelling from the past actually strengthens the neural pathways connected to memory, language, and identity. When you say, "I remember when gas was 25 cents," or "your grandfather used to," your brain is doing something incredible. It's anchoring your sense of self. And a strong sense of self is one of the most protective things for cognitive longevity. You're not just remembering, you're processing, you're keeping your timeline active, you're making sense of your life. That's not a symptom of decline. That's a sign of rich, complex brain health. So don't apologize for sharing a memory. Don't think, "I've told this before." Your mind knows the power of that story, and it's using it to stay strong. In our next segment, we'll explore a sign that shows up when you're all alone, and it might surprise you how powerful it is. Sign 4. You can be alone without feeling lonely. There's a quiet confidence in being able to sit alone with your thoughts and not feel overwhelmed. If you've noticed that you're okay spending time by yourself, that you can go a day without background noise or constant distraction, your brain is doing something remarkable. Solitude is not loneliness, it's inner stability, and it's one of the clearest signs of emotional and cognitive maturity. Doctors rarely test for this, but the ability to sit with your own presence, to think, reflect, and just be without needing external stimulation is a form of neuro-emotional balance. That balance means your brain isn't overreacting, overstimulated, or afraid of the quiet. It's calm, and calmness is a powerful kind of mental strength. You might take it for granted. You might think, "I've just gotten used to being on my own." But getting used to it means your brain adapted. It grew into the space. That's resilience. So, if your favorite part of the day is sipping tea alone in the morning or just watching the rain fall in silence, you're showing one of the most beautiful signs of brain endurance. In the next segment, we'll shift to something social, something that shows your brain still knows how to connect even in unexpected ways.
Sign 5. You still laugh easily. Laughter isn't just an emotional release. It's a neurological event. If you find yourself chuckling at a silly commercial, smiling at your own mistakes, or bursting out laughing with an old friend, your brain is showing high-level functioning. Here's why. Humor requires timing, memory, context, emotion, and pattern recognition all at once. In fact, researchers say understanding a joke uses more brain areas than solving a math problem. Amazing, right? But here's the thing most people miss. If you can laugh, especially during a tough day, your brain is showing not just resilience, but flexibility. It knows how to shift, how to see light in the shadows. Doctors might check your memory, but they don't ask, "Did you laugh this week?" They should, because laughter proves you still process the world creatively. You're not flat. You're not shut down. You're alive inside. If someone made you belly laugh recently, or you found joy in something silly, take it as a sign. Your mind hasn't dulled. It's still lighting up in full color. Next, we'll talk about a moment many of you know well, the quiet check-in you do with yourself, and how that moment proves your brain is working in deeply resilient ways. Sign 6. You reflect on your choices without regret. Every so often, you probably replay old decisions in your mind, not out of guilt, but from a place of peace. You might think, "I did the best I could," or "that moment shaped me." This kind of reflective thinking is a sign of cognitive maturity, and it shows a brain that's still deeply engaged with meaning. When you reflect without spiraling into regret, your brain is activating the prefrontal cortex, home of reasoning, wisdom, and growth. This ability doesn't decline with age unless we stop using it. Doctors focus on facts, numbers, recall, but resilience, it lives in how we process our story. If you can look back, even on mistakes, with softness and clarity, you've reached a level of inner coherence that's rare and powerful. You might find yourself journaling, praying, or just lying awake at night reviewing the why of things. That's not wasted time. That's your brain refining wisdom. If you can say, "I've changed," or "I've learned," even at 75 or 85, you are still mentally evolving. That is resilience. Coming up, one more quiet sign. This one has to do with how you move through your day, and it may surprise you how sophisticated it really is. Sign 7. You make small adjustments without complaining. This might sound simple, but it's profound. If you notice that you adjust to things using a handrail without feeling defeated, switching routines without making a fuss, or accepting a change without spiraling, your brain is showing adaptive resilience. Doctors don't often catch this, but the ability to adapt gracefully is a cognitive triumph. It means your brain isn't rigid, it's flexible, responsive, and emotionally intelligent. Say you switched to lighter groceries, started using a magnifier for small print, or let yourself nap without feeling lazy. These may seem small, but they signal high-level executive functioning. You assess, decide, adapt. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Adaptability is one of the most powerful signs of brain strength, especially in aging. A resilient brain doesn't cling to how it used to be. It says, "What can I do now that still works?" And then you do it. That's power. That's strength in motion. Coming up in the next segment, If you've related to even one of these signs so far, you're likely showing more mental resilience than most doctors will ever tell you. And if you're still watching, let's take a gentle pause. We've just uncovered 7 signs, quiet but powerful, of brain resilience that most doctors completely overlook. They weren't flashy, they weren't about IQ scores or how fast you can recall a number. They were about who you are, how you cope, how you connect, and how you adapt. And if you've seen yourself in even one of these signs, I want to say this gently but clearly. You are mentally stronger than you think. If you're still watching at this point, that alone says something important. It says you're engaged, curious, reflective, all signs of a brain that hasn't given up on learning or living fully. So here's a little moment of connection. If any of this has resonated with you so far, take a moment and type 1 in the comments below. That's it, just 1. Not to impress anyone, not for me, but as a small gesture that says, yes, I'm still here, still thinking, still strong. I'll be reading every single one. Now, in the next few segments, we'll go deeper, not just into the signs, but into why your brain holds on to strength even when the body starts to shift. Let's keep going. What comes next might surprise you. Why the brain doesn't always decline with age. Let's clear up a common myth. Aging does not automatically mean cognitive decline. Yes, certain things like processing speed may slow down, but wisdom, emotional regulation, pattern recognition, and deep memory, they often grow stronger. In fact, MRI scans of older adults show something remarkable. People in their 70s and 80s often have more integrated brain activity when handling complex problems than younger adults. Their brains are slower but more complete. Why? Because life experience trains the brain to think in layers, not just reactions. You see context, you feel nuance. You don't just remember what happened, you understand why it mattered. That's called crystallized intelligence, and it's one of the greatest gifts of aging. It's like your brain is weaving together thousands of threads into a rich and meaningful pattern. Doctors don't always test for that. They test for facts, speed, names, but your resilience, it lives in depth, not in data. So the next time you feel like your mind is slowing down, ask yourself, or better yet, remember, are you thinking more deeply? Are you feeling more meaningfully? That's not decline. That's transformation. And it's one of your brain's best strengths. Let's go deeper still into how daily choices quietly reinforce resilience without you realizing it. The power of ordinary routines on brain health.
You brush your teeth the same way. You make your tea just how you like it. You straighten the couch pillows before sitting. These small, ordinary habits, they're doing something extraordinary in your brain. You see, routines aren't just about comfort. They're about stability. And stability gives your brain a reliable structure, a scaffold it can rest on. When life gets unpredictable, it's those little rituals that tell your brain you're safe. And a safe brain is a brain that can grow, not just survive. Think about this. Studies show that seniors with predictable daily rhythms have lower cortisol, better mood, and better sleep. The brain loves rhythm. And every time you repeat a positive habit, you're reinforcing healthy neural pathways. Even something as simple as walking the same path in your home can become a form of neurological grounding. You're telling your brain, I know this, I trust this. And that sense of calm, it protects memory, it regulates emotion, it creates resilience. So the next time someone calls your routines boring, smile. You're not stuck, you're strategic. In the next segment, we'll talk about something very special, relationships, and how even the smallest connection can transform your brain health in profound ways. Why tiny social moments matter more than you think. You don't need a crowd to stay mentally sharp. You don't even need to be extroverted. In fact, sometimes the most powerful brain support comes from a single smile, a short phone call, or even a kind exchange with your mail carrier. Why? Because connection isn't about quantity, it's about emotional presence. When someone sees you, hears you, or even just waves to you, you're not invisible, and your brain lights up in response. Studies show that just 10 minutes of meaningful social interaction a day can reduce memory loss risk significantly in older adults. That's because human connection triggers oxytocin and dopamine, chemicals that buffer stress, improve recall, and stimulate attention. And it doesn't have to be deep. How are you today at the grocery store? A thank you with eye contact. A laugh shared on the phone. Each of those is like a spark to the brain. So if you felt disconnected lately, don't wait for a big reunion. Start small. One text, one voice message, one visit to someone who matters. Your brain doesn't need loudness, it needs aliveness. Next, we'll explore a hidden truth, how creativity, even the tiniest form of it, keeps your mind young, no matter your age. Creativity keeps the brain young, even if you're not an artist. You don't have to paint, you don't have to write poetry, but if you've ever rearranged furniture to make it feel just right, cooked a new recipe out of instinct, or sung along to the radio with feeling, you've practiced creativity. And here's the gift. Creativity is one of the last brain functions to decline with age. In fact, many people become more creatively expressive as they grow older, not less. Why? Because creativity lives in the right hemisphere, and this part of the brain is deeply connected to meaning, emotion, and imagination, all of which continue to flourish in later life. When you create anything, even something small, you're telling your brain, we're still evolving. And your brain responds by forming new synapses, keeping those pathways flexible and awake. So don't dismiss your creativity just because it doesn't come on a canvas. It can be in your garden, in your jokes, in how you tell a story to a grandchild, in how you solve a small problem with grace. If you've created anything in the past month, even if no one saw it, your brain is alive in ways most people overlook. In the next segment, we'll explore one of the most powerful forms of resilience, your ability to trust your gut feeling. Trusting your intuition is a sign of a wise brain. Have you ever felt something was off without knowing why? Or sensed that something would go well and it did? That's not just instinct, that's intuitive intelligence, a quiet form of brain wisdom built through years of lived experience. Scientists now recognize that intuition isn't random. It's your brain picking up patterns too subtle for conscious awareness. And in older adults, this pattern recognition is stronger than ever, especially when it comes to emotional decisions, people's intentions, and risk assessment. When you say, "I just have a feeling about this," your brain is pulling from decades of micro experiences, sorting through memories, emotions, and context faster than you could ever explain. Doctors may ask how many words you can remember, but they rarely ask, "Do you trust yourself?" And that's a shame, because self-trust, especially through intuition, is one of the deepest signs of mental clarity. So if you've learned to follow that quiet voice inside, if you've made choices that just felt right and brought peace, you're showing a brain that's both sharp and soulful. In the next segment, we turn inward to a power you may not talk about much, but one that might be your brain's greatest protection of all: stillness. Stillness is not emptiness, it's cognitive strength. We live in a noisy world. Even in retirement, the chatter of news, phones, and worries can fill every corner of the day. But if you've discovered the comfort of stillness, those moments where you let everything go quiet, you've tapped into something powerful. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing something deeply restorative. It allows the brain to move out of constant processing and into reflection, regulation, and healing. In moments of stillness, your default mode network, the brain's system for self-awareness and introspection, activates. That's when your brain cleans up thoughts, repairs emotional wounds, and strengthens your identity. If you've ever just sat by a window watching the clouds pass, or let your coffee go cold while you drift into thought, you weren't wasting time. You were building inner coherence. Most brain checkups never ask, "Do you know how to rest your mind?" But maybe they should. Because a mind that can rest is a mind that can reset. Stillness is a kind of wisdom. It says, "I don't need to be busy to be valuable." It says, "I am enough, right now." And in our next segment, we prepare for something special: how all these signs connect to a deeper truth most people don't realize.
The hidden thread that connects all these signs. By now, you may be thinking, "I've seen parts of myself in almost every sign." And you're right to feel that, because each of these signs, curiosity, laughter, stillness, reflection, creativity, intuition, they aren't separate. They're woven together by something even deeper: presence. Presence is the ability to show up to your life, not just exist in it. And presence is one of the most underrated brain strengths of all. When you're present, you're aware. You're not lost in regret or fear. You notice things. You respond gently. You breathe before reacting. You find joy in something as simple as how sunlight moves across the table. And when you live in this space of presence, even briefly, your brain becomes more integrated. It doesn't work in fragments. It works together. That's the foundation of real resilience. Most doctors look at the parts: memory, movement, reaction time. But presence is the whole. And wholeness is what keeps the mind stable, flexible, and vibrant. So if you've stayed with me this far, it's because your brain is capable of deep presence. You are living proof of resilience already. In the next segment, we'll uncover the single most effective method to strengthen your brain resilience starting today. This one matters most. The most powerful way to boost brain resilience: storytelling practice. So what's the most effective way to strengthen brain resilience as you age, especially if you want to tap into all 7 signs we've just explored? It's something surprisingly simple, but profoundly powerful. It's the daily practice of storytelling out loud, in writing, or even silently to yourself. Here's why it works. When you tell a story, whether it's about something funny that happened at the store or a childhood memory, you activate multiple areas of the brain at once. Memory, language, sequencing, emotion, creativity, logic, even empathy. All firing, all working together. Storytelling reinforces identity. It keeps your timeline intact. It allows you to reflect, connect, laugh, feel, and it pulls all 7 resilient signs into one daily ritual. Start small. Share a memory with a friend. Record yourself telling a life lesson. Write one story in a notebook each week. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. This isn't talking, it's training. Gentle, meaningful brain training built on who you are. No app required, no expert needed. Make storytelling your medicine. Let it become a rhythm. Because every time you share your voice, your mind becomes a little more alive, and your resilience grows deeper. And now, the final truth you've earned by staying through to the end. Here's the truth. You might already have brain resilience. You might already be practicing it in ways no test or scan can ever show. And if you've seen yourself in these signs, your strength isn't just potential, it's real. You've learned that curiosity, reflection, laughter, emotional recovery, stillness, storytelling, and quiet adaptability are not small things. They are markers of an extraordinary brain that has learned how to live deeply, not just age slowly. And you now hold the key: storytelling. Not for performance, but for practice, for meaning, for connection, for resilience. If that resonated with you, if even one sentence made you sit back and feel seen, I invite you to type 2 in the comments right now. That's our little signal that says, yes, I'm growing, I'm still becoming. And if you want more content like this, made just for thoughtful, resilient adults like you, please subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button. Share this with someone you care about. Help us build a space where aging isn't feared, but honored. Because this isn't just about brain science. It's about how we choose to keep living fully, beautifully, and wisely. And you, dear friend, are already well on your way.